Welcome to the Tuscaloosa County Judge of Probate debate with candidates Hardy McCullum and Ted Sexton. Before we start, just a few housekeeping things. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. After that, there will be questions, and they'll have 2 minutes each to respond to the question and then another minute for a rebuttal. We have some prepared questions, but we also want to hear what you have to think. So when you came in, you should have gotten a card and a pencil to jot down if there are questions that you would like to pose to these two candidates. If you didn't get a card or a pencil and you need one, just raise your hand. We have some folks in the back who will be able to bring them to you. Then when you have your question written, hold the question up, and again, someone will come and pick it up and bring it over to our question table. To the extent that we can, those questions that are of general interest will get asked to the candidates. At the end of the forum, we will have a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate. For the candidates, I want to call your attention to our timekeepers in the front row. They will be holding up a yellow flag when there is 15 seconds left and a red flag when it's time to stop. And we certainly hope that you'll conform to those time frames so that we can get in as many questions as possible. I think now we're ready to start, and with 2-minute introductions, we'll start off in alphabetical order, so we'll ask Judge McCullum.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce of West Alabama for hosting tonight's events. Your county is one of the few debt-free counties in America. It is one of the strongest counties in America with adequate reserves to meet any emergency. We are one of the most prosperous counties in America. The unemployment rate for Tuscaloosa County has been lower than the state and national average every year since the year 2000. In my years of service, I have passionately worked to bring new industry to Tuscaloosa County and to expand our existing business. Year after year of balanced budgets have positioned your county where it is today, growing and secure for any downturn in the economy. When the recession of 2001 and 2008 hit the economy hard, we were able to weather the storm without a reduction in governmental services, without raising taxes, without laying off any of our employees or borrowing money. And I might add that maintaining a reserve does not mean that your government is hoarding money. To the contrary, we are spending more each year on public services, on public roads and bridges, public buildings, and our allocations to community organizations such as the library, Parks and Recreation, and many others. But here's what's important. We are increasing expenditures in line with the growing economy and not raising taxes or borrowing money. And what is key, the formula for continued progress and prosperity. The future of Tuscaloosa is bright indeed. We must keep Tuscaloosa County strong for today and secure for tomorrow.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters and the Chamber for sponsoring this debate. After 35 years of public service, some folks have asked me, why are you running for probate judge? And the answer is simple, because Tuscaloosa County must do better, and I know with your help our county will do better. We all know this county is lagging behind the city and the University of Alabama. The county has not advanced the way it should, and this is all about leadership. We all know that with new leadership like Dr. Witt and Coach Saban has brought to our community, we can't keep patting ourselves on the back for something that happened 20 years ago. We can't look in our rearview mirror. Tuscaloosa needs a plan for the future. Our current probate judge is living in the past. He chairs a county commission that is bogged down with infighting and indecision. And the people of Tuscaloosa County, who work hard and pay taxes, deserve better. When you elect me your probate judge, I promise you that I will do the following things: maintain conservative money policies, and with the county commission, make smart strategic investments to grow your county. Create jobs by buying local. We'll hire local folks instead of sending huge sums of money to Montgomery and New Orleans. We will fix crumbling roads in over 50 neighborhoods and fix traffic problems throughout the county. diversify our economy to increase our low take-home pay and reduce our high poverty rate, fix the conservative program so money will never again be stolen from our most vulnerable citizens, and modernize our NEAT 911 system to prevent needless tragic deaths. Make sure that criminals who fail drug tests in the Community Corrections Program, which has been under the direct control of this probate judge, will be put in jail, not set free to rob and shoot our citizens. We'll televise county commission meetings, hold meetings in the evening so working folks can attend, and let taxpayers do their business online instead of wasting $4 a gallon gas to drive to the courthouse. I know and you know that we can do better. That's why I got in this race. Friends, it's time for a change. I've done it as sheriff, and I'll do it as your probate judge. Thank you.
We're now a year and a half past the tornado with a capital T. What have you learned, and what would you have done differently in working on the recovery after the tornado? We'll start with Mr. Sexton.
Well, we learned a lot. There were 5 tornadoes that day. The sheriff's office dealt with 5 tornadoes that day. I'm immensely proud of what my deputies did and our entire staff. I'm immensely proud of all county employees and what they did on that particular day. The one that most of us remember is the one in the afternoon. It devastated the resources. It presented unbelievable challenges. And because of the life-saving equipment and the planning and the processing that we did here, we did not have to wait on a number of different pieces of equipment. And I believe I see Chief Anderson in the back. The collaborative working relationship that we have established over an extended period of time turned out to be invaluable. The ability to be able to draw upon resources, the training, the communications efforts that we have committed to make sure that we could communicate and work together, to be able to draw upon the resources of the fire department. Everybody's resources were drawn in about 30 seconds. We found ourselves doing things that we don't normally do. But yet we rose to the occasion, and large part because of our community coming together, we were able to overcome.
Thank you. Mr. McCullum?
Yes. I, too, am extremely proud of the effort that was made in Tuscaloosa County by not only the Sheriff's Department, the City of Tuscaloosa, the assistance that came from outside of our community. One of the things that we did working with Sheriff Sexton some time ago, we put in mutual aid agreements that allowed other communities to assist us and for us to assist other communities. That was invaluable during this period of time. You know, as was indicated, our folks were the first on the scene, clearing roads, working with the Sheriff's Department, clearing right away, because you can't get to an emergency unless those roads are clear. And our folks did an admirable job working hand in hand with the community, the VFDs, the Sheriff's Department, the city, and there was something very humbling about that day when you look back and you think about it, how we came together as one community and worked for one solution, and that was to help our neighbor recover from a tragedy. And it was a very tragic situation that we faced. One thing that we all learned, that you can't depend on the federal government to be the first responder. Your community and your resources, and I can tell you, I talked to many of our contractors on the night of the storm, made calls to 4 or 5 of them. Not a one of them refused. They were there helping, opening roads, and allowing our responders to respond.
Mr. Sexton, anything else?
Yes, ma'am, if I may, just some of the things that we have learned from that. One is that the system that we had here for missing persons and locating missing persons and trying to separate those huge numbers that we had that were up over 1,000 to start with and be able to reduce that down. The system that was put together by the city and Northport and the Sheriff's Office and the university is now a model program in the nation. But we also learned, we've put together additional response equipment so that if we come across an overwhelming situation that we have and we lose the ability to have immediate fire service because their resources are being drawn elsewhere, we now have those resources available. And then also one of the things that we found ourselves with was a lack of emergency medical services, the numbers to be able to deal with that. We've instituted a paramedic program within the sheriff's office. They work during the day shift when the volunteer fire service is generally at the lowest for their response time, and it's been a very successful program thus far and available for future tornadoes if need be.
Thank you. Mr. McCollum?
Sure. One of the things that was real evident as a result of what happened is the communication system. It proved that our 911 system worked. It worked the way it was supposed to work. When the city's 911 system went out, because of the design of the system that we have, those numbers automatically rolled to the sheriff's office. They automatically were rolling to other agencies so that the communication could continue. We were actually, and I'll commend the sheriff and the public safety, they were taking calls from neighboring counties. We were responding and doing dispatch, I think, Sheriff, for Coleman County and Walker County. So the system worked, and that was one of the really bright spots that came out of that event.
Thank you. The next question has to do with animal control issues. How should animal control calls in the county be handled? Who should have the responsibility for it? And how should all of that work together? We'll start with Mr. McCullum.
All right. Tuscaloosa County has established an animal control department. And I can say that it is working efficiently and effectively at this point in time. Your county inherited that. We hired several years ago at the request of the sheriff to be in the animal control business. And we hired a deputy to be the animal control officer under his supervision. And that worked well until he decided he didn't want to be in the animal control business any longer. Your county government assumed that role. And I can say today it is working. It is working the way it was intended to work. We still need the sheriff to be involved as it's related to vicious animals. We handle the routine matters. They go out, they're available on a 24/7 basis and are responding, and I think they're doing an admirable job under the circumstances. Thank you.
Mr. Sexton?
When we started animal control, it was back in 2006, and in the county minutes of that meeting, when the sheriff's office accepted it, there was going to be another plan drawn up in 2006 according to the minutes. Now, when we look at what the state law says, it says that the county commission is responsible for it. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want deputies chasing strays, or do you want them out there chasing felons, robbers, rapists, murderers, and so on? Now, the deputy that's referred to was the same deputy that was starting off with about 16 sex offenders. Now he's monitoring up over 275 sex offenders. So I ask you, and I ask you, do you want Ray Jacobs monitoring sex offenders, or do you want him out chasing strays? Now, under the current system, if it's a criminal issue, we investigate. Now, the interesting thing that has not been mentioned is that our probate judge swore these gentlemen in the same as police officers. So if he did, there's no need for us to be out there doing it. Again, this information is available on my website at tedsexton.com.
Mr. McCullum?
Sure. I had to swear him in because the sheriff refused to do what he had told the commission that he was going to do. That's the fact, Sheriff, and you know it. And you shouldn't.
I'm sorry, you swore these gentlemen in, and then we said we weren't going to do it.
One at a time, please.
Sheriff, you know what you said. I don't want to argue with you about this, Sheriff. The facts are you refused to do it. The county commission had to assume responsibility. You're the one that put us in this business because you requested us to be into that business. That being said, the county commission assumed the responsibility when you refused, and the animal control system is working today and under the able leadership of Jim Patry, and he has 2 animal control officers, and yes, I swore them in because the law allows them to be sworn in as animal control officers. Thank you.
Mr. Sexton?
Again, I would urge folks to go and look at the minutes from 2006 when the commission voted on this. In the same paragraph, alternative plans would be made. It was not the sheriff's office plan to be in the animal control business because the state code 3-1-16 says it's the responsibility of the county commission. I urge you to check with the other 67 counties in our state and see how many of them are involved in animal control.
Thank you. For each of you, what is your position on continuing the temporary 1 cent tax for education? And we'll start with Mr. Sexton.
Well, the schools have become very reliant on this 1 cent sales tax. I believe that, again, by diversifying our economic base, by expanding our industrial recruitment, by growing jobs in our county, we can eventually diversify our economy to where the issue is taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. McCollum?
Well, obviously that requires a vote of the commission. The commission has voted to extend it, I think, at least on 1 occasion, maybe even 2 occasions, with a plan in mind. The plan was to do capital expenditures, capital improvements to the system. There's very little of that 1 cent sales tax that is going into operations. So with the expiration of the capital improvement program, then we'll have to reevaluate it at that point in time. But I think it's not due to expire until about 2016.
Mr. Sexton, anything to add?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I use, never mind, I'm sorry.
In Alabama, the probate judge is ultimately responsible for the accessibility of all polling places. How will you ensure that all polling sites in the county are in full compliance with the voting accessibility requirements of the Helping Americans Vote Act and the Americans with Disability Act? We'll start with Mr. McCollum.
We do an audit every year working with the Secretary of State's office to make sure that all of our polling places are in compliance. That is a requirement that is done. We do it. Unfortunately, there are occasions, such as occurred with the tornado, that required us to do some emergency relocation of polling places. Some of those may have not complied, but we take that very seriously. As a matter of fact, we to the polling place at the courthouse, we just added about 2 years ago, added a handicap access ramp so that it would be accessible not only to the polling place, but getting to the Board of Registrar's office as well. Because again, we think that's extremely important, and it's something that we are required to do.
Mr. Sexton?
I'm sorry, ma'am, can you repeat the question?
Yes. In Alabama, the probate judge is ultimately responsible for ensuring the accessibility of polling places. How will you ensure that all polling sites are in full compliance with the voting accessibility requirements under the Helping Americans Vote Act and the Americans with Disability Act?
Well, as has been mentioned, there's an assessment done annually, and I would just try to improve upon the assessment by making sure that we have our organizations that represent those with disabilities involved in the process, as well as those folks from our community. There have been a number of questions that I have received regarding using schools for polling places. So it shows that there is a lot of concern in our community about where polling places are placed. And so therefore, giving these various communities the opportunity. Now again, the availability, accessibility, parking, the facilities that are provided are all taken into consideration in the process. But I do believe that we need to allow for more citizen input in the process.
Mr. McCollum, any response?
Well, I don't know that we need to expand on it. We obviously, because of the requirements that you have a polling place located in each and every voting ward, sometimes that becomes a difficult process to locate them, particularly in the fact of, in light of the storms. But again, we do it, we are in compliance, so I don't know that I can add anything else to that.
Mr. Sexton?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. What should be the responsibility of the County Commission in funding services such as the library, para, focus, public transportation, and other services of this type? And we'll start with Mr. Sexton.
Well, of all those that you just named, the County Commission is involved. However, again, I think we need to sit down with the Commission and prioritize the needs, as I stated in my opening statement. What has been interesting is during an election year, we see that the bus routes are going to be expanded to Holt, and we see some other activities that are going to take place. But again, this is a discussion that needs to sit down with community input. I think this is where the openness of government comes into play, where people have the opportunity from their homes to be able to watch meetings on TV, to be able to come to meetings just as this meeting is very well attended in the evening, to be able to call up minutes and transcripts. I think it would allow for better community input and follow what their elected officials are doing, and therefore better track the funding for these issues that you're discussing now.
Mr. McCollum?
Yes, your county commission, I think, adequately funds parks and recreation. As I've said, we have added new facilities. We are currently funding a library, which is a very good and quality asset in this community. We fund the health department, which has good facilities and meets the needs of in the community. We are involved with a lot of agencies that we also are quality of life issues. We lend assistance to programs such as Pride, which is to deal with young people that may be facing issues of substance abuse. Those are quality issues that your county commission funds and takes great pride in funding and being involved with.
Mr. Sexton, anything to add?
I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. McCollum? Okay, thank you. How can the probate judge ensure oversight over conservators and guardians to ensure the safety of those whose estates they're overseeing? And we'll start with Mr. McCollum.
Thank you. Your probate court is in charge of oversight of your conservator and your guardians. We are charged with that responsibility by law. Let me say this. There is an annual accounting in many cases and triennial accountings in other cases. It's a requirement of the law. Number two, every case, whether it's a conservatorship or an administration of an estate, there is a bond that I require that every conservator or every personal representative has to file to ensure faithful performance. That's a requirement that we play, and we take that very seriously. And you know why we do that? So there's not one dime of anyone's ward's property that is in jeopardy. That's a solemn commitment that we've made, and in 36 years, I can report to you that no one has lost a penny due to unfunded or not being bonded in probate court. I'll tell you that without any doubt.
Thank you. Mr. Sexton?
Well, first of all, the county conservator is responsible to take care of our most vulnerable citizens, those that can't take care of themselves. And the probate judge appoints that individual. And the probate judge appointed a woman who was indicted in federal court, who pled guilty, who gave up her bar license and went to prison. So then our probate judge appoints a second woman with less experience than the first. She needs to be trained. So who trains her? The same woman that went to prison, federal prison. I'm sorry, but she did. She trained him. And the first thing that this woman does when she comes in, and the records show this, ladies and gentlemen, and it's available on tedsexton.com. Please go read these. These records are available. She took $100,000 from an elderly woman, held on to it, and then when the case, at a later date, she comes back and is going to give the money back voluntarily. Folks, if I went to Walmart and went out the door with a TV and didn't pay for it, I can assure you that if I brought it back in a few months, I'd go to jail. And I believe I saw Johnny Marks here. I believe Johnny Marks, yep, there he is right there. Johnny Marks, you mind standing up? Johnny, would you mind standing up? Here's an individual that you can talk to in this room tonight that can tell you what happened to his family, because Johnny will tell you that his family was stolen from. I have a document here. I also have a document here that would show that $25,000 came up that did not have receipts from Miss Hutto. Miss Hutto has hundreds of cases in the probate judge's court, and it has not been audited. If there's money missing in one case, there's a good chance we're going to be missing money in hundreds of others.
Mr. McCullum, response?
Ted, you just know that ain't right. But, first of all, the case he's referring to is not in my court, not my appointment, not my employee. It originated in circuit court through a DHR case. Not in my court, not under my supervision. Had it been, there would have been a bond in place. There wouldn't have been any money missing. There is no case in my court that is unbonded, that is unsecured, because that is the practice of this court. And we take that responsibility, and we take a solemn oath. We will never allow the most vulnerable to be taken advantage of.
Mr. Sexton?
Simply put, that's incorrect. I've been a cop for 35 years. I know how to go through and look at a case. Folks, let me also come back. I didn't get a chance to tell you this, but I told you about the woman who took the money from the elderly woman, $100,000. Well, 4 months later, our probate court issues an order, a blank order to this woman. There is absolutely nothing on this. This is a blank check, ladies and gentlemen. I've been a cop for 35 years. I've never seen one of these. And I bet you if you check with attorneys, they haven't either. It has become such a mess that the presiding judge has a special master looking at all cases that have dealt with Miss Hutto that have come up to the circuit court, many of them from the probate court. I want you to please go to my website and read the testimony of Miss Gear, because I think that you will see, as I did, we need to have an audit, we need to follow the law, and we need total transparency.
The next question is, how would you provide better services of all sorts to the outlying areas of the county, including economic development and other services? And we'll start with Mr. Sexton.
Well, I think one of the issues that I spoke about early on is one of the most important, and that is to these local communities is their fire service. They are seeing currently an ISO rating in many occasions of a 7, 8, or a 9, and ladies and gentlemen, I think the city of Tuscaloosa is down around a 4 or 5, so there's a significant increase in the fire service and fire insurance. We need to, again, sit down and prioritize the issues. In some cases, economic development will be difficult to do so, but we need to look at working with our municipalities. What can we do to help them increase their retail base? In this case, a rising tide floats all boats. We need to look at infrastructure, necessary infrastructure that may be used, again, for industrial recruitment. Diversification of industry, if we can support it with the infrastructure, could take place in a number of different areas of this county.
Thank you, Mr. McCullum.
Your county commission continuously works with the various communities within the county to bring improvements to the infrastructure. That's one of our responsibilities, and we assume that responsibility and take it very seriously. To improve the road system, to improve and bring good, clean drinking water, and where possible to work with to bring sanitary sewer where possible. Economic development comes from a good infrastructure system. Without good roads, without good highways, without the infrastructure, there is no economic development. So we place a great deal of emphasis on that, and we'll continue to place a great deal of emphasis on that. We have, and I'll give you an example of what we're working on. We're working with the town of Vance today to build a bridge over Norfolk Southern Railroad and U.S. Highway 11 because of a safety issue, to improve the safety in the community, but it will also allow for some more and extended economic development in the Vance community, and I think that's important.
Thank you. Mr. Sexton, anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Mr. McCullum, thank you. In the national campaign, there's a lot of talk about cutting spending. Are there any areas in the county that you see that perhaps should have funding cuts made? And we'll start with Mr. McCullum.
That's an interesting question. Not very many areas that you talk about in today's economy wants to be talking about areas of cutting. I know the sheriff don't want me to be talking about cutting public safety, and I don't think Commissioner Miller wants to talk about cutting public works. No, I think overall what we're trying to do is maintain a level of growth within your county that allows us to continue to maintain growth in its agencies and in its services. As I said earlier, with the downturn in the economy, because we were able to have this reserve, we never had to lay off an employee. More importantly, we never had to cut a service. We did not have to cut one service to the people of this county. I think that's important. I think it speaks well for the folks that work for you on a day in and day out basis with your county commission and in the commission office. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the work that they do. And I think, I can't think of one area that we would look to as it relates to public services that we should be reducing cost.
Mr. Sexton?
Well, I would think that whatever we can do to become more efficient, use of the website, those types of things. But I think in my 22 years, we have had very, very few meetings where we have come together with all of the various elected officials and department heads to sit down and talk about issues. We don't have budget hearings anymore. We're basically submitting a budget and sending it in. But I think that the ability, I know I used to very much appreciate the opportunity to sit down with Commissioner Miller and one of the other commissioners to be able to ensure that they knew about our operation. But then also with that type of additional information, the commission, I think, can make better informed decisions on what needs to be done. Let me just talk about mapping. Mapping is used by the engineering department, it's used by 911, it's used by the tax assessor, it's used by the sheriff's office, it's used by a number of individuals. But we have some different mapping systems. What can we do in mapping software, which is expensive? What can we do to make it more efficient, more conservatively fiscal, so that we can try to get everybody over to the same software, so we're not buying different proprietary softwares and move and continue the forward progress. Mapping is extremely important to all these entities within the county, and that's just one example that I would point to.
Thank you, Mr. McCullum.
And I would agree, and that's the reason we're addressing that. But also, there's technology that needs to be implemented and will be implemented. I'm one of those that, technology for technology's sake a lot of times doesn't, unless it produces a cost benefit to the taxpayers, then there's no real need. It doesn't bring a benefit. Let me tell you what brings a good benefit and what we implemented several years ago. Your county commission embarked to build its own bridges. We invested. We make investments in things that create a return that would allow your tax dollar to go further. We do that. We embrace that every opportunity we get, and bridges was an example of that.
Mr. Sexton, response?
No, I'm fine, ma'am. Thank you.
I want to turn that question on its head now and ask you, are there any services in the county that you think should be funded at a higher rate by the county commission? And we'll start with Mr. Sexton.
No, ma'am, as I stated earlier, I think what we need to be looking at is our basic services. We need to assess our basic services. We need customer input. We need to hear from our taxpayers and our customers, how are we doing? And we do this at the sheriff's office, and I think that this is a great program. We get a lot of feedback from citizens. How can we improve services? As a matter of fact, I just found out today that one of the areas that we've been working on, reducing property crime, we saw a 13% drop in reduction of property crime, largely because of the use of the internet, social media, the outreach meetings that we do. Those are the types of things that we received from feedback. Again, we go back to our traffic situation, fire service, as was alluded to, the need for potential sewer services. One of the areas has been Culver Road. Another area would be up into the far eastern section of Tuscaloosa County. And by putting in a planned sewer system there, we could open up that end of the county for retail businesses, for additional housing, additional schools, and grow that in. And then, as I've mentioned, open government. I think that's one of the most key components. You know, Judge McCollum ran, when he originally ran in 1976, he talked about open government and making sure that we can, we had too many tie votes is what he was talking about. So it's another issue in 2012, one that I think is very important.
Mr. McCollum?
Yeah, as it relates to accessibility, and you're talking about the availability and accessibility as far as your county is concerned, and the sheriff keeps hitting at it. Let me say, I've been in office for 36 years. My phone number has always been in the phone book. I'm always accessible. You can come to the courthouse, you can talk to me, you can see me, I'm available. Having meetings or being televised doesn't make you more accessible, maybe more informed, but we have two newspapers, 3 TV stations that broadcast and cover our meetings every week. And we are a very, very transparent organization. Every citizen that wants to come to your commission comes and has the ability to address your commission. But more importantly, they have my phone number. They can call me at any time they want to.
Mr. Sexton, any response?
Yes, I think it is very important that our community be informed. One of the issues that's continually brought up to me when I have been out throughout this county is that people feel they get limited knowledge and limited coverage by one newspaper article, basically, every 2 weeks about the county commission, and occasionally there would be another one. But this has been one of the major issues that people have talked to me about. They want to know more about their county government. They want to know more about what their elected officials are doing. They want to know more about what their plans are. What's the plan for the future? They want to know about what's going on in the weeks that are not covered. They want to be able to research minutes and transcripts. They can come over to the sheriff's office and find out about criminal activity in their neighborhood. They can find out about sex offenders that live in a 5 or 10 mile area. They want to be able to do the same thing with county government.
Mr. McCollum, any response?
Pick up the phone and call me. I'm there. And your county commission's available to you. And we have been, and will continue to be. I think it's important to know that being available and being as close as the telephone and being available anytime that you need to know or you're concerned about an issue that involves you with your county government, pick up the phone and talk to them. Again, we're available. Your commission's welcomes that. We encourage that. As a matter of fact, we got so interested one time, we started having night meetings. We went into the communities. And unfortunately, we were optimistic that those would be well attended and people would show the interest in be attending those meetings. Unfortunately, they didn't. But that still didn't deter us from wanting and continuing to be accessible and trying to ensure that the public was informed as to what's going on with your commission.
What is the current status of drug courts in Tuscaloosa County? And should the county commission be involved in paying for these?
Sure, I think the drug court is an excellent program. And yes, your county commission should be involved with that. And it shouldn't be a political issue, as was made into during this election cycle. Right before, I think it was back during the summer, the sheriff brought, without even talking to the chairman of the commission, and I do all of the civil commitments, and I probably have as much knowledge related to mental health as any public official in the county. But yet, the sheriff saw fit to come and make a presentation to the commission, brought in outsiders to say, this is what we need to do, without even discussing it with the folks that he wanted money from. And I think Commissioner Miller can verify what I'm saying. It was political. You know, I found it really interesting when we talk about that, that we could find money in drug to support and have, and pay $90,000 a year for a psychiatrist in the jail. But we couldn't find money for a social worker in the jail to work in drug court. That's it smells kind of political to me. Because your commission, and I think I can verify that with Commissioner Miller, was more than willing to sit and talk about the implementation of drug court.
Mr. Sexton.
Thank you. Those of you who may remember the day that we did this, and it was filmed, that we had the Judge McCollum beating on the desk, yelling at Ron Abernathy, telling us about what he was going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious mental health problem in this county, and you know it. Judge McCollum can't do anything about, very little with those that have criminal charges, and any person that has a felony charge, he cannot do anything with, period. Now, the biggest issue that we have in the jail, we have at times, almost 40% of our population in jail, mental health issues. We run, on any given day, the second largest residential mental health program. Chief Anderson's in the back. Gentleman goes out, urinates in the street, gets arrested, comes down to the jail, and becomes a real mental health issue. Starts washing himself with feces. These are issues that we're dealing with. We need the ability to be able to deal with this. Now, I just heard the number 90,000. Judge is incorrect. That's not what we're paying for a psychiatrist. We run a mental health unit with the judges and with the judges of the 6th Judicial Circuit, with Maud Watley Health Center, and with Indian Rivers Mental Health Service. We came together to form a mental health court, which we have been talking about for some time. We are trying to move back forward with mental health officers, which we have been doing for some period of time. Now, Ron Abernathy went up and made the presentation, and he did make contact with the probate judge before going into that hearing. We were asking for $10,000. we have quite a surplus. $10,000 would allow us to be able to move forward with services with individuals that are in great need of assistance.
Mr. McCullum, response?
Sure. There's no doubt drug court is a needed alternative to incarceration of those that suffer from a mental illness. I'm very passionate about the mentally ill in this county and trying to ensure that they are not in places other than treatment or in a safe setting. I've dedicated my life to that. And to say that that I'm not concerned about the mentally ill would certainly be a misrepresentation. The request was for $40,000, and I think that's pretty well documented. And I'm sorry, I don't know what the number was, but it's in tens of thousands, according to Bill Lamb, because I asked, and he's the county's accountant, as to how much money is being paid for a psychiatrist. But if we have millions of dollars in the sheriff's department, finding a little bit of money that comes out of commissary is not a big thing to ask.
Mr. Sexton?
Well, I find it extremely interesting that the judge would not fund this. I'm looking for in the Tuscaloosa News where it said how much we requested. I think I just heard $40,000. We certainly didn't ask for $40,000 from the courts. Now, we ended up funding this through discretionary funds of the sheriff's office because he wouldn't fund it. I think this has turned out to be a very beneficial program. It's one that I hope will be maintained in the funding process. Right now, the program is being funded by the judges of the 6th Judicial Circuit and by the Sheriff's Office until hopefully this program will be brought in and under the umbrella of our Community Corrections Program.
Thank you. Should the county be responsible for paving roads in developments where the developer has done a substandard job? And we'll start with Mr. Sexton.
Yes, I appreciate that. You know, as I mentioned, that the issue came about because these developers, when they developed the roads, did not meet the standards set forth by the same department head that was described as working with it, that the probate judge described that he works with, the department head. We didn't hold them accountable. We didn't have those standards. And then the insurance bonds that they are supposed to provide to ensure those roads are taken care of in case something does go wrong and pay for it, the county let them lapse. County let them lapse. Once those bonds lapsed, there was nothing else they could do. As I mentioned earlier, folks in those subdivisions are holding the bag. Now, as I mentioned, we have contract county garbage trucks that go down those roads. We have fire trucks, we have ambulances, we have the United States Postal Service, we have school buses, and we have general traffic if you're going down to visit with someone. I see people in this very room tonight that are affected by this issue. Now, when this came to a vote just a few weeks ago, probate judge voted against trying to fix these roads, said they were private property. How do we build a 4-lane highway to a private toll bridge? That's a question I have.
Mr. McCullum?
All right. Your commission has passed subdivision regulations on 2 different occasions. Those regulations are designed to do 2 things. They're to protect the property owner and also to protect the taxpayer. The county doesn't accept a subdivision roads until they are complete. And they got to be up to standard before we accept them. And you know, the vast majority of these roads are developers and subdivisions are done correctly. and they're completed on time and are brought up to standards. The question becomes, when does the county accept and complete developments and subdivisions that haven't been brought up to standard? When do we do that? Quite often, what we're dealing with today are bankruptcies that have come about during the downturn in the economy. A lot of them are LLCs. Very difficult to get to. But let me say this. What we're trying to do and attempting to do is to get to those LLCs where the developer has bankrupted and is now in business somewhere else, still developing subdivisions. I don't think you or me as a taxpayer want to bail out a private developer. Now, what your commission is attempting to do is to take every means at its disposal to ensure that those folks are required or doing what they are and should have been required to do in the first place.
Mr. Sexton?
Yes, I'd like to use just a little bit of my time to answer this previous question. Tuscaloosa News. Here's the downside. When the pilot program was proposed in May, Tuscaloosa County Commission voted down a request for $10,000 to pay for a caseworker and therapist needed to identify the inmates who would qualify for diversion. Now to get back over to the subdivisions. Up until recently, in just the last few months, no legal action was taken against those developers. We took no action to pursue those developers until this issue has come up in the campaign.
Mr. McCollum, any response?
Let me say quite clearly, I've never been in favor of a taxpayer bailout. What the sheriff's advocating, he wants to take your money, and bail out a private developer. And simply, I'm not for it. And I don't mind telling you that. The home builders of Tuscaloosa County are not for it.
That's not what the home builders have
I'm sorry,
told
sir,
me.
but you've had your time.
Simply put, they haven't.
I think this probably will be our last question, and that is, what is it about your leadership style that is different from your opponent's leadership style, and how will that help you to lead our county in the future? We start with Mr. McCollum.
Sure. My leadership style has always been one of which you hire good people, you depend on them, you charge them and give them with the responsibility of doing a job. And you lead by example. You lead by example. We've been very fortunate to have good department heads in Tuscaloosa County. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of success in this county in our management. The fact that we are one of the few debt-free counties in America, and certainly the state of Alabama, speaks to leadership. It speaks to being able to ensure that we do what we're supposed to do, and that is live within our means. Sometimes leadership isn't throwing money at a problem. Money's not the solution to every problem. And I think that makes the difference. That's the difference between Sheriff Sexton and myself. Sheriff Sexton's solution quite often is give me more money and I can solve the problem. Make the hard decisions. And I'm willing to make those hard decisions. I have made those hard decisions. But I lead from in front by taking this community forward with the help of good people around and allowing those good people to work with you, work with the mayors, work with folks to make this a better place.
Thank you. Mr. Sexton?
Thank you. I think those that have worked with me would, and Chief Anderson's in the back, I think that he would tell you, number one, I listen. I'm accessible. I'm a problem solver. I build teams, and we do get things done. We don't throw money at it. We fix the problem either by policy, by training. There's a number of ways to fix issues. But let me talk about what I've done. Let me tell you a clear difference between the two of us. I'll make that hard decision he's talking about. We've had deputies, unfortunately, that have been involved in activity that turned out to be criminal. We had a deputy that was involved in an excessive force complaint. It was investigated. She was terminated, appealed to the Civil Service Board, and after that, we self-reported to the FBI as a civil rights violation. My opponent, on the other hand, has a gentleman who was in the Community Corrections Department. He picked him. The man in 2003 had a sexual harassment case, 3 of them issued against him. So we were on notice that there was an issue. We didn't do anything once the case was over to protect the females that worked in there. It went all the way to last year to where we served a grand jury indictment on 23 grand jury indictments for attempt sodomy in the first degree, sexual abuse, attempt sodomy again in the first degree, misuse of his office, extortion, and other charges. It's resulted in 3 more sexual harassment cases because we haven't done anything with it. I can make the hard decision. We would have investigated and terminated, more than likely, this individual.
Thank you. Mr. McCollum?
Yes. The case that Sheriff Sexton's referring to, and I think I would hope that anyone in this room that's ever been in the legal system, have ever been on either side of the legal system, understands due process. You understand that the accused and the accuser have to have their day in court. You can't be, as Sheriff Sexton did in that particular case, filled out a lot of paperwork so he could go to Birmingham, Jefferson County, to serve a warrant on an individual and bring him and book him in jail in Tuscaloosa when he was due in court, due at work the following morning. Reeks of politics to me. But the point of it is that I'm making is simply the man is due his day in court. We did our investigation. We did our due diligence. It was investigated by the legal staff and the personnel department. The original case that he's referring to was thrown out by a female federal judge. Now, you know, we could sit and talk about all these cases and all the problems that Sheriff Sexton have had in his department. I'm not going to hold Ted Sexton responsible for those, no more than he should hold me and the commission responsible for this one incident. Because I can assure you folks, there's a lot of them. But the most important thing in a good leader is doing the right thing. And I asked Sheriff Sexton, does he think that was the right thing to do, to go in the dark of night and get someone out of their home across the county line?
Mr. Sexton?
Yes, the sheriff thinks that that's the right thing to do. I am supposed to go get
please,
criminals.
no reactions.
Yes. Now, let's go back and talk about this. He did nothing.
No.
He talks about a female judge that threw it out. You're not a lawyer, but you are a judge. You don't need a criminal threshold to dismiss somebody for sexual harassment, which is a county policy. We're supposed to protect our employees, and we did not. Please go read these federal pleadings on my website. I just warn you, they're extremely graphic.
All right. Settle down. We are almost at the end. I'd like to give each of you gentlemen now a chance to do a 1-minute closing statement. And we start with Mr. Sexton.
I'm sorry, did you say 1 minute closing?
1-minute closing statement.
Just one.
One?
Hey, do you hold yourself?
That was in the letter, sir.
Wow. Thanks to the League and the Chamber and our moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an important election, and you have a clear choice. Your probate judge is supposed to lead the county and have a plan for the future. I don't believe Hardy has a plan for Tuscaloosa County, but I do. And before you vote, I hope you ask yourself a few questions. After 36 years, why doesn't Tuscaloosa County have a plan? And why doesn't Tuscaloosa County have open government? You know the answer to many of the questions that have been answered tonight, and it's all about leadership, and it's time for a change. And I've told you my plan to fix these real problems. I've told you the truth, and check these facts yourself at tedsexton.com. Now talk with your friends, your family, your co-workers. Tell them what you've heard here tonight. And if y'all want a better Tuscaloosa County, get out and vote for Ted Sexton. I've done it as sheriff, and I'll do it as your probate judge. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you. Mr. McCullum.
Yes. I want to thank each and every one of you for your presence tonight, and certainly as well for your attention. This election is about trust. This election is not about making promises that can't be kept. This election is about a probate judge who will not abandon his duties to hear and decide cases of the probate court, versus a candidate who will hire someone with your money to do the job that you've elected him to do. I've never run for any other office than probate judge, and you can be certain when reelected, I will continue to work to keep our county strong and physically sound, not for ourselves, but for our children's tomorrow. God bless you. God bless Tuscaloosa County, and thank you for the privilege of serving.
On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Greater Tuscaloosa and the Chamber of Commerce of Western Alabama, I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank our candidates for giving us a lot to think about with a very lively debate. I want to thank the audience for your attention and for coming out. I want to thank our TV audience for tuning into this. I want to thank those of you who submitted questions. And I want to thank WVUA for broadcasting this program. It is a very important election, and I urge you all to be sure to go out and vote. League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support any candidates or any political parties. We invite you to join League of Women Voters. We have a membership table outside. And I also wanted to just mention to the candidates that we will be typing up all of the questions that we've received and giving them to you. A number of them we weren't able to get to, so that you will, in fact, know what the voters are asking about and are thinking about. And again, I just want to thank everyone for coming, and good night.
You did a great job.
Thank you so much.